Poor girl with her baby falls asleep on a CEO's shoulder on a flight, but wakes up shocked when he... Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's incredible journey. The soft hum of conversation filled the cabin as passengers settled into their seats for the long flight. The steady rhythm of the plane's engines seemed to match the thrum of anticipation in the air. The lights were dimmed, and the soft murmur of flight attendants' voices barely cut through the silence. But for Maya, a weary single mother, it was a quiet escape from the chaos of her life. Her young daughter, Sophia, sat beside her, fast asleep, her tiny head resting against Maya's shoulder. Maya, exhausted from the journey and the weight of her responsibilities, was struggling to stay awake. Her mind raced, filled with worries about the future and the uncertainty that loomed over her family. The flight was supposed to be a fresh start. A job interview awaited her at her destination, but the road to get there had been far from easy. Her shoes were worn, her dress was secondhand, and the weight of her financial struggles felt heavy on her shoulders. She thought about the countless sacrifices she had made, the dreams she had put on hold, and the life she had tried so hard to build for herself and Sophia. As the plane sailed through the clouds, Maya's eyes grew heavy. She let out a soft sigh and, with a gentle motion, shifted in her seat. Without realizing it, she leaned her head against the shoulder of the man sitting next to her. Jordan a well-dressed, confident CEO with a presence that filled the space around him. Jordan, however, was unaware of the woman next to him as he quietly scrolled through his phone, lost in the digital world of business deals and emails. He was a man who had everything: wealth, power, success. But there was a quiet loneliness that lingered in the corners of his heart. He often found himself yearning for something more. Maybe it was the warmth of connection, or perhaps just the comfort of knowing that there was more to life than corporate meetings and bottom lines. When Maya's head landed softly on his shoulder, he hesitated for a moment. His first instinct was to move away, but something stopped him. He glanced down at the woman beside him, her exhausted face, the deep lines etched around her eyes. She looked like someone who had been through a lot, someone who carried the weight of the world on her shoulders. Without thinking, he adjusted his position just slightly, making her more comfortable, and let out a quiet sigh. There was something about her that stirred something deep within him, a feeling he hadn't experienced in a long time. For the rest of the flight, Jordan did his best to stay still, allowing Maya to rest her head on his shoulder. He didn't know why, but he felt an odd sense of peace in the moment. It was as if the world outside the plane had faded away, leaving only the quiet hum of the engines and the gentle rise and fall of the woman's breath beside him. Time seemed to slow, and in those few hours, Jordan found himself thinking more about life, about his own loneliness, and about what he truly wanted. He didn't realize it then, but this brief, accidental connection with Maya would change everything. As the flight descended and the fasten seatbelt sign lit up, Maya slowly stirred from her nap, blinking as she woke up. Her heart raced in embarrassment as she realized she had been leaning on a complete stranger for the entire flight. She straightened up quickly, muttering a soft apology. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," she said, her face flushing with color. Jordan, who had been lost in thought, looked at her and smiled warmly. "It's all right," he replied. "I didn't mind." Maya couldn't help but feel a little awkward. She didn't belong in places like this. She was just a waitress, struggling to make ends meet, trying to create a better life for her daughter. As she glanced at Jordan, she noticed the expensive suit, the polished shoes, the way he carried himself. He was someone important. She quickly looked away, feeling the sting of comparison. "I guess this is what blind dates feel like, huh?" she joked, trying to ease the tension. Jordan chuckled softly. "Yeah, definitely, a little weird." Maya laughed nervously. "Jenny, my friend, she said you might be a little shy, but I think I can talk enough for both of us." He smiled, a glint of amusement in his eyes, and nodded. "I think I can handle it." Maya continued to talk, sharing a bit about herself, about her struggles, and her hopes for the future. Jordan listened, fascinated by her honesty and the raw vulnerability in her words. She wasn't pretending to be something she wasn't. There was no facade, no pretense, just a woman trying her best in a world that often seemed too big and too harsh. She mentioned her job, how she was barely making ends meet, how she dreamed of opening her own art studio one day. "I work in tech," Jordan replied, his voice softening as he noticed how at ease she had become. Maya laughed lightly. "Tech? That sounds complicated. I'm terrible with computers," she joked, her face brightening as she spoke about her own passions. As they continued to chat, Maya felt a small sense of relief. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel judged. She didn't feel like she had to hide who she was or where she came from. It was a simple conversation, but it felt meaningful. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of something that would change her life forever. But before she could say more, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and saw a message from her friend Jenny. "Hey Maya, I'm at table 7. I'm so excited to meet Kevin." Maya's heart sank as the truth dawned on her. She wasn't talking to Kevin. She had sat at the wrong table. She looked up at Jordan, her face burning with embarrassment. "You're not Kevin, are you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jordan's smile faltered for a moment, but he nodded. "No, I'm not." Maya's stomach churned as she stood up quickly, grabbing her coat in a flurry of panic. "I'm so sorry. I just sat at the wrong table. I can't believe I did this." She turned to leave, her heart pounding, but Jordan called after her. "Maya, it's okay," he said, standing up as well. "It's not a big deal." But Maya was already halfway to the door, her face flushed with humiliation. As she exited the restaurant, she couldn't help but feel a strange mix of regret and curiosity. There was something about Jordan that had made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in years. Little did she know, this brief encounter was just the beginning of a life-changing journey. When Maya returned home that evening, she collapsed onto the couch, her mind racing as she replayed the awkward moment in her head. What had she done? Would she ever see him again? And why? In the back of her mind, did the thought of never seeing him again bother her so much? It seemed like a small, insignificant mistake, but for some reason, it felt like something more. But one thing was certain. Maya never expected that this small mistake would lead her down a path that would change her life in ways she could never have imagined. The next morning, Maya woke up to the soft hum of her apartment's old heater kicking on. She squinted at the clock, 10:15 a.m. Her interview was in 2 hours, and she still hadn't gotten dressed. Her mind raced as she looked at the pile of clothes on the floor. She ran a hand through her tangled hair, the stress from the past few days creeping back into her shoulders. Sophia, her daughter, was still asleep in the small bed they shared, her little body curled under the thin blanket. Maya had promised herself that she would give Sophia a better life. She just didn't know how. The weight of her financial struggles, the loneliness, the pressure to be everything for Sophia, it all felt like too much sometimes. But today was different. Today, she had a chance. She had to make it count. She pushed herself out of bed and into action, quickly getting dressed in the most presentable outfit she could find, a second-hand dress she'd bought at a thrift store last month. It wasn't much, but it had to do. As she tied her shoes, her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at the screen. It was a message from Jenny. "How did it go last night? Can't wait to hear about Kevin." Maya's stomach tightened as she remembered the awkward moment from the night before. She had sat at the wrong table. She had spent an entire flight talking to a man, thinking he was someone else. But, as it turned out, Jordan was not Kevin. She had run out of the restaurant in embarrassment. The memory made her cringe. She quickly typed a response to Jenny. "I'll tell you later, just gotta go. I'm late." After a quick breakfast of cereal and milk, Maya grabbed her bag, picked up Sophia, and rushed out the door. The whole time, the image of Jordan kept lingering in her mind. His calm demeanor, his kind eyes, and the way he had let her lean on him without saying anything. She tried to shake it off. She had a mission today, and she couldn't afford to think about him anymore. The day dragged on. Maya managed to get to her interview, but everything felt like a blur. She answered the questions mechanically, trying to mask the nerves and exhaustion that were slowly building up inside her. When the interview was over, she walked out of the office building feeling defeated. The job seemed like a long shot, but she had no other options. Her phone buzzed again. It was another message from Jenny. Maya, you won't believe it, but Kevin's here. He said you two met last night. Come back to the restaurant. He's asking for you. Maya froze. Kevin? She blinked at the message, her mind struggling to make sense of it. There was no way it was possible. He must have gotten her number from Jenny. But then, she remembered the real Kevin, the man she had been supposed to meet. He had never shown up. Confusion swirled inside her, and before she could think it through, her feet were moving, taking her back to the restaurant. When she arrived, the hostess greeted her with a smile, and she was escorted to the same table where she had met Jordan the night before. Her heart pounded in her chest. As she walked toward the table, she saw Jordan sitting there, looking more relaxed than he had the night before. His sharp suit was gone, replaced by a simple button-up shirt and jeans. He looked up as she approached and smiled. Maya, he said, standing up as she sat down. I wasn't sure if you'd come, but I'm glad you did. Maya stared at him, trying to keep her composure. You're not Kevin, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. No, he said with a soft chuckle. I'm sorry for the confusion, but I wanted to talk to you again. I feel like we left things unfinished. Maya blinked. Unfinished? What do you mean? Jordan leaned in slightly, his voice lowering. I didn't want to reveal everything last night, but I'm actually Jordan Carter, the CEO of Carter Enterprises. And I owe you an apology for not being upfront with you. Maya's heart skipped a beat. This was the man from the flight. The CEO. The millionaire. She tried to process the information, but it felt like a whirlwind. You're Jordan Carter? She asked, disbelief filling her voice. The Jordan Carter? Yes, he said, his expression sincere. The same one. Maya's mind raced. This was not the conversation she had expected to have. She didn't know what to say, but before she could speak, Jordan continued. I want to be honest with you. I didn't sit down with you by accident. I wanted to see who you were without knowing anything about you. You were real with me last night. And that's something I don't come across much. Maya sat in stunned silence, the words barely sinking in. Jordan was watching her carefully, waiting for her reaction. I know this might be a lot to take in, but I'm here to offer you something. A job, for one. And help. I know you've been struggling, and I want to help you. Maya's breath caught in her throat. A job? She asked, her voice shaking. Yes, he said, leaning back in his chair. I think you could be a valuable asset to my company. But more than that, I believe in what you stand for. You've been through a lot, and I admire your strength. Maya looked at him, unsure whether she should accept the offer or run the other way. This was a dream come true, but it felt too good to be true. How could a billionaire like him want to help her? Was this all just some kind of charity? Or did he actually see something in her that she couldn't see herself? Why me? Maya asked softly, still trying to process everything. Because you're different, Jordan said, his eyes meeting hers with an intensity that made her heart race. You're not like the other people I deal with. You care about the things that really matter. Family. Connection. I want to help you build something better. Maya didn't know what to say. She had come to this restaurant expecting to meet someone else, and now, here she was, facing a CEO who wanted to change her life. It was too much to take in, and she wasn't sure if she could trust him. But at that moment, something shifted in her heart. Maybe it was the kindness in his eyes. Or maybe it was the realization that she was being offered a chance. A real chance. After a long pause, Maya finally spoke. I don't know what to say, but thank you for being honest and for giving me a chance. Jordan smiled, relief flooding his face. I'm glad you're willing to consider it. Maya nodded, still processing the whirlwind of emotions that had overtaken her. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long while, she felt like she was on the edge of something better. And maybe, just maybe, she was ready to take the leap. Let's start fresh, Jordan said, extending his hand across the table. Together, Maya hesitated for a moment before reaching out and shaking his hand. As their hands met, she felt a spark of hope that had been missing from her life for so long. This was the beginning of something new, something real. And for the first time in ages, Maya believed in the possibility of a brighter future. The following weeks passed in a blur of new experiences and challenges. Maya found herself stepping into a world she had never imagined, working closely with Jordan and his team at Carter Enterprises. The transition was overwhelming at first. She had gone from struggling to make ends meet to suddenly being part of a prestigious company, surrounded by professionals who spoke a language she didn't fully understand. Still, Jordan had been patient with her, guiding her through the process and making her feel like she belonged. Despite the initial shock, Maya was determined to prove herself. She quickly learned the ropes, picking up new skills and understanding the intricacies of the business world. There were moments of doubt, moments when she felt out of place among the polished executives, but Jordan was always there, offering encouragement and reminding her that she was exactly where she needed to be. One evening, after a long day of meetings and planning, Maya stayed late at the office, reviewing some documents. She was still adjusting to the fast pace of everything, and she wanted to make sure she was doing her best. As she finished up, she heard the sound of footsteps approaching. She looked up to see Jordan standing in the doorway, a warm smile on his face. "Still here?" he asked, raising an eyebrow playfully. Maya chuckled, standing up from her desk. "I'm just trying to catch up," she replied, feeling a little self-conscious. "You've been doing great," Jordan said, his voice sincere. "But remember, it's important to take a break sometimes. You can't pour from an empty cup." Maya smiled, appreciating his concern. "I'll keep that in mind," she said. After that, they had a quick conversation about her progress at the company, and Jordan offered her some advice about balancing work and life. It was moments like these that made Maya realize how much she had grown in such a short time. Over the next few weeks, she began to find her rhythm at the company, gaining confidence in her abilities. As she settled into her new role, she couldn't help but think about how different her life was now compared to just a few months ago. She was no longer just a waitress struggling to make ends meet. She was part of something bigger, something that felt meaningful. Despite her success at work, Maya couldn't ignore the tug in her heart. As much as she had gained from Jordan's offer, there was still a part of her that questioned whether she truly belonged in this world. She wasn't from this life, wasn't accustomed to the wealth and power that surrounded her now. One evening, as she was heading home from work, she stopped by the park near her apartment to clear her mind. She sat on a bench, staring out at the still waters of the pond. It was a quiet moment, one she desperately needed. As she sat there, lost in thought, she felt a soft tap on her shoulder. Turning around, she saw Jordan standing there, a look of concern on his face. "I thought I might find you here," he said, sitting down beside her. Maya smiled softly, feeling a warmth in her chest. "I needed some time to think," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know it's a lot to take in," Jordan said, his tone gentle. "But I want you to know that you've earned your place here. You don't need to doubt yourself. I see the work you've put in, and I see the person you are. You're not just here because of me, Maya. You're here because you're talented and capable." Maya felt a lump form in her throat. She had always struggled with self-doubt, but hearing Jordan say those words made her realize just how far she had come. It wasn't just about the job or the opportunity. It was about the person she was becoming. The quiet strength that had always been there, hidden beneath her fears and insecurities, was finally starting to surface. As they sat there together in silence, Maya couldn't help but feel a sense of peace. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. She had spent so long fighting for a better life, but now, with Jordan's help, she was beginning to see that the life she had dreamed of was within reach. Jordan broke the silence, his voice soft but sincere. "I know it's not easy, but if you ever need anything at all, I'm here for you." Maya nodded, a sense of gratitude filling her heart. "Thank you, Jordan. I don't think I could have made it this far without you." He smiled warmly, his eyes locking with hers. "I'm just helping you get to where you belong. The rest is all you." For the first time, Maya believed him. The next day, she walked into the office with a renewed sense of purpose. She was no longer just a single mother struggling to survive. She was a woman who had been given an opportunity, and she was determined to make the most of it. But as the days passed, Maya began to notice something changing between her and Jordan. The way he looked at her had shifted, and the subtle moments of kindness were becoming more frequent. There was something deeper beneath the surface, something she couldn't quite explain. It wasn't just about work anymore. There was a connection between them that couldn't be ignored. Maya tried to push the thought aside, but it lingered. Could she really start something with Jordan? Was she ready to open her heart again after everything she had been through? The question swirled in her mind, but she knew one thing for sure. Whatever happened next, she was ready to face it head-on. She had come too far to turn back now. The days that followed were filled with a quiet intensity. Maya continued to thrive at Carter Enterprises, gaining confidence with each passing day. She had begun to feel more at ease in the corporate world, but as much as she had changed, there was still something that tugged at her heart. The connection with Jordan was undeniable, but she had worked so hard to protect her heart over the years. She couldn't let her guard down now, not even for him. As the week went by, their interactions at work became more frequent, and the chemistry between them was palpable. Maya would catch Jordan looking at her in a way that made her stomach flutter, but each time she tried to acknowledge it, she would pull away, reminding herself of the boundaries she had set. One evening, after a long day of meetings and project updates, Jordan asked Maya to join him for dinner. She hesitated for a moment before agreeing. It wasn't just about work anymore, and she knew it. She couldn't pretend like nothing was happening between them. They met at a small, quiet restaurant, far from the prying eyes of the office. As they sat down, Jordan smiled, but there was a certain softness in his eyes that made Maya feel vulnerable. "I'm glad you came," he said, his voice warm. Maya smiled nervously, trying to play it cool. "I didn't have much of a choice. You practically twisted my arm." Jordan laughed, the sound genuine and easy. "You could have said no, but I'm glad you didn't." They talked about work, about the projects they were both involved in, but the conversation slowly shifted. Jordan began to ask about her personal life, about her daughter, about her hopes and dreams. It was the first time in a long time that Maya felt like someone was genuinely interested in her for who she was, not just for her skills or her role in the company. She found herself opening up, sharing more than she had with anyone in a long time. "I've always wanted to open my own art studio," Maya said, her eyes bright with the passion she felt for the idea. "But I don't know how I'd make it happen. There's never been enough time or money." Jordan listened intently, his gaze focused on her as she spoke. "You have a lot more than you think," he said softly. "You have the talent, the passion. The rest will come." Maya felt a lump form in her throat at his words. She had never thought of it that way. All she had ever seen were the obstacles, the reasons it couldn't work. But hearing Jordan speak like that, so sure of her potential, made her feel like it might actually be possible. "Thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I don't know if I can do it, but hearing you say that makes me think maybe I can." The rest of the evening passed in a blur. They finished their meal, but neither of them seemed in any rush to leave. It felt like they were both quietly savoring the moment, the connection that was growing between them. As they walked out of the restaurant, Jordan placed a hand on Maya's shoulder, his touch warm and reassuring. "You're capable of so much more than you know," he said quietly. The words lingered in the air as they stood outside, the night wrapping around them like a blanket. For the first time in a long time, Maya felt like she was starting to believe in herself again. But as much as she wanted to take the next step, there was still a part of her that hesitated. What if this was all just temporary? What if Jordan saw her as a project to fix, someone he could help but never truly love? Maya knew that she had to protect her heart, but the way Jordan looked at her made it difficult to keep that distance. The next few days were filled with an unspoken tension. At work, they were both focused and professional, but there was an undeniable pull between them that neither could ignore. Jordan would find excuses to stop by her desk, just to talk, just to check in. And every time he did, Maya felt that familiar flutter in her chest. It wasn't just about the job anymore. It wasn't just about the company or the money. It was about something deeper, something real. As much as she tried to focus on her work, her thoughts kept drifting back to Jordan, to the way he made her feel, to the warmth in his eyes when he looked at her. But she couldn't ignore the fear that lingered in the back of her mind. Was this real, or was she just imagining it? Was she ready to open herself up to someone again, especially someone like Jordan? One afternoon, as she was leaving the office, Jordan stopped her. He looked at her with an intensity that made her heart race. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice low. Maya nodded, her nerves suddenly on edge. They walked outside together, away from the hustle of the office. "I need to tell you something," Jordan said, his eyes not leaving hers. Maya swallowed hard, unsure of what to expect. "What is it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jordan took a deep breath. "I know this might be unexpected, but I've been thinking about us. About what's between us. And I just want you to know that I care about you, Maya. I care about you more than I should." Maya froze, her heart thudding in her chest. This was it, the moment she had been dreading. But as she looked at him, the sincerity in his eyes told her everything she needed to know. Maybe, just maybe, this was real. She didn't have all the answers yet, but for the first time, she was ready to take a leap of faith. Maya smiled softly, her heart full. I care about you too, Jordan, she said quietly. But I'm scared. Jordan reached for her hand, his grip warm and firm. I know, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for you, for both of us. And for the first time in a long time, Maya believed him. The walls she had built around her heart began to crumble, and the possibility of love, of real love, started to feel within reach. The following weeks were filled with quiet moments and growing closeness between Maya and Jordan. They had opened up to each other in ways that neither had expected, and their bond continued to strengthen. At work, Maya was thriving, her confidence growing with every new task she took on. But outside of the office, things were changing too. The attraction between them was undeniable, but Maya still had her doubts. She had spent so much of her life fighting for survival, fighting for a future for herself and Sophia, and now, here she was, standing at the edge of something that felt too good to be true. Jordan, on the other hand, had been open and patient, letting things unfold at Maya's pace. But even he couldn't ignore the way his feelings for her were growing. He had always been a man who focused on business, on success, but there was something about Maya, her strength, her vulnerability, the way she cared for her daughter, that drew him in. He found himself thinking about her outside of work, wondering if maybe he could have a life beyond the boardrooms and the deals. One evening, as Maya prepared to leave the office, Jordan caught her before she could walk out the door. Maya, can we talk? He asked, his voice soft but serious. Maya hesitated for a moment, feeling a mixture of excitement and nerves at the thought of what might come next. Of course, she said, turning to face him. They stepped into a quiet conference room, the dim light of the evening filtering through the windows. Jordan closed the door behind them, the room suddenly feeling smaller, more intimate. He turned to Maya, his expression serious. I don't know how to say this, but I need you to know how I feel. Maya felt her heart race, unsure of what he was about to say, but there was something in his eyes, something raw and honest, that made her feel like she was about to hear the truth. I care about you, he continued, his voice steady, but there was a hint of vulnerability in it. I care about you more than I've ever let myself care about anyone in a long time. And I know we've been taking things slow, but I need you to know that I'm all in, Maya. The words hung in the air between them, and for a moment, Maya couldn't breathe. She had known that there was something between them, but to hear Jordan say it so plainly, so openly, it left her speechless. I'm not asking for anything, Jordan added quickly. I'm just telling you that I'm here. I'm here for you, for whatever this is. I just want you to know that I'm not going anywhere. Maya blinked, her mind racing. She had spent so long protecting herself, keeping her heart locked away, afraid of letting someone in again. But the way Jordan was looking at her now, with such sincerity, made her question everything she had believed about love, about relationships. She had been so focused on survival, so focused on making sure Sophia had a future, that she hadn't allowed herself to imagine a life with someone else. But here was Jordan, offering her something she hadn't dared to dream about. A chance at love, a chance at happiness. I care about you too, Jordan, she said, her voice trembling slightly. But I'm scared. I'm scared of everything. Of trusting again. Of letting go of everything I've built for Sophia and me. Jordan took a step closer, his hand reaching out to gently touch hers. I understand, he said softly. I know it's scary, but you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to be scared. Not with me. The warmth of his hand on hers felt like a promise, and for the first time in a long time, Maya allowed herself to believe it. She took a deep breath, looking into his eyes, and for the first time, she felt the walls around her heart begin to crumble. I'm ready, she whispered, the words more freeing than she had expected. I'm ready to let you in. The weight that had been on her chest for so long seemed to lift, and she felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt in years. With Jordan, she could be herself, not just the woman struggling to survive, but the woman who deserved love and happiness too. We'll take it one step at a time, Jordan said, his voice warm and reassuring. But I'm not going anywhere. And for the first time in what felt like forever, Maya felt like she was finally home. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of change. Maya and Jordan continued to grow closer, spending more time together outside of work, and with each passing day, their connection deepened. There were still moments of uncertainty, of fear, but Maya found herself trusting Jordan more and more. She wasn't just relying on him for support. She was learning to lean on him emotionally, something she had never allowed herself to do before. Their relationship was built on a foundation of respect, trust, and shared dreams. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And as they stood together in the small moments of life, whether it was sharing a quiet dinner, discussing their future, or simply holding hands, it felt like they had both found something worth fighting for. Maya knew that her journey wasn't over. There were still challenges ahead, but now, she had Jordan by her side. Together, they could face whatever came their way. And for the first time in a long time, Maya believed in the possibility of a future filled with love, joy, and the kind of connection she had always dreamed of. As the months went by, Maya found herself growing more comfortable with her new life, a life she never thought she would have. Her work at Carter Enterprises had become a second home, and her bond with Jordan had deepened in ways she hadn't expected. The walls around her heart, which she had spent years carefully building, were now crumbling, and she was finally learning to trust again. She wasn't just a single mother fighting for survival anymore. She was Maya, a woman who had a future filled with possibilities. There were still days when the weight of her past threatened to pull her down, but Jordan was always there, his presence a steady anchor in the storm. He was patient with her, understanding of her fears, and he never once pushed her when she wasn't ready to take the next step. For the first time, Maya didn't feel like she was alone. But despite the comfort she found in Jordan, she still struggled with one thing: the balance between her career, her new life with Jordan, and her responsibilities as a mother. Sophia, her young daughter, had been the center of Maya's world for so long, and now, as she saw Jordan more and more, she couldn't help but worry how all of this would affect her. Would she be able to give Sophia the attention she needed while also growing closer to Jordan? Would her daughter accept him into their lives? These questions weighed heavily on Maya's mind, and one evening, after putting Sophia to bed, she found herself sitting in the living room, lost in thought. Jordan had been working late, as usual, and Maya had been alone with her thoughts. She wanted to talk to him about her concerns, but she didn't know where to begin. She had never had anyone to turn to like this before, someone who genuinely cared for her and Sophia. As she sat there, Jordan walked through the door, his tired face softening when he saw her sitting on the couch. "Hey," he said, a tired smile on his lips. "You okay?" Maya looked up at him, her heart swelling at the sight of him. He was always there when she needed him, always so steady, so reliable. She hesitated for a moment before speaking, her voice low. "I've been thinking a lot lately, about us, about everything. I don't know if I'm ready for this." Jordan frowned, sitting down next to her. "Ready for what?" he asked gently. Maya let out a deep breath, her hands fidgeting in her lap. "Ready for all of this. For you and me, for Sophia and you. I'm afraid of messing things up. I've spent so long trying to protect her, trying to give her everything she needs. And now I'm scared that by opening my heart to you, I'm taking something away from her." Jordan listened intently, his hand reaching out to touch hers. Maya, I know this isn't easy. I know it's complicated, but you're not alone in this. I'm here for both of you. And if we do this right, we can make it work. It's not about replacing anything. It's about adding something new. It's about building something together, for all of us." The sincerity in his voice, the warmth in his eyes, made Maya feel a sense of peace she hadn't realized she needed. She had always thought of herself as the one who had to carry the weight of the world on her shoulders, but Jordan was offering her something different, a chance to share that weight, to share her life with him. "I want this," she whispered, the words coming out softer than she had expected. "I want you, Jordan, and I want Sophia to have you in her life. I just don't know how to make it all fit." Jordan smiled, his thumb gently rubbing the back of her hand. "We'll figure it out together, one step at a time." Over the next few weeks, Maya began to open up more to Jordan about her fears and her hopes for the future. They spent more time with Sophia, getting to know each other better, slowly building trust and understanding. The transition wasn't without its challenges. There were moments when Maya worried that Sophia was feeling neglected or that she was doing too much too soon. But Jordan was always there, offering support, always ready to reassure her that they were in this together. Slowly but surely, Sophia began to warm up to Jordan. At first, she was shy, unsure of this new man in her mother's life. But with Jordan's gentle patience and kindness, she started to open up. One evening, as they sat together at the dinner table, Sophia looked up from her plate and said, "Mom, I like him." The simple words, spoken with such sincerity, made Maya's heart swell with emotion. She looked over at Jordan, who met her gaze with a soft smile. They didn't need to say anything. The unspoken connection between them was enough. It was a moment of quiet affirmation, a sign that they were moving in the right direction. As the days passed, Maya started to feel more at ease with her decision. She no longer felt torn between her past and her present. She had found a balance, a sense of peace that she hadn't realized she needed. Jordan was becoming more than just the man who had helped her find a better job, more than just the CEO who had shown her a different world. He was becoming her partner, someone she could rely on, someone who cared deeply for both her and Sophia. She wasn't sure where this journey would take them, but she knew one thing for sure. She was no longer alone. With Jordan by her side, Maya was ready to face whatever came next. She had built a new life for herself, one filled with hope, love, and the promise of a brighter future for her and Sophia. As Maya and Jordan continued to build their life together, things began to settle into a new normal. Their connection had only deepened, and Maya felt more secure than ever. Her fears about balancing her career, motherhood, and her relationship with Jordan seemed to fade with each passing day. Sophia had warmed up to Jordan, and while there were still moments of hesitation, they were becoming a family in their own way. However, the deeper they went into this new chapter, the more Maya realized just how much she had changed. She was no longer the woman who struggled to make ends meet, or the one who had to fight for every little thing. She had Jordan now, and though he had been a source of incredible support, Maya knew that her independence was still very important to her. As her confidence grew at work, she started to see herself differently, not just as a mother or a woman who had been given a second chance, but as a person who could achieve her dreams, both personally and professionally. One evening, Jordan invited Maya to attend a charity event he was hosting. It was one of those events where the wealthiest people in the city would come together, dressed to the nines, and make generous donations for various causes. Maya had never been to an event like this before, and as the date approached, she found herself feeling a little out of place. The gown she had picked out for the evening was elegant, but still simple compared to the extravagant dresses she knew would be worn by others. She had spent so much time adjusting to her new life with Jordan, but this event was a reminder of the world she had once felt so far removed from. Jordan noticed her anxiety and, as always, reassured her. "You look amazing," he said, his hand gently brushing hers. "Tonight's not about who you're wearing, Maya. It's about who you are. You belong here." His words had a calming effect, and as they arrived at the event, Maya stood by his side, her nerves slowly fading away. The room was filled with laughter, music, and the sound of clinking glasses. People were mingling and exchanging pleasantries, but for Maya, it was a world of unfamiliar faces. Still, she held her own, finding a quiet corner where she could gather her thoughts and take in the elegance around her. As the evening wore on, Maya found herself talking to a few guests who were genuinely interested in her, not just because of her connection to Jordan, but because they saw her as a person in her own right. It was the first time in ages that she didn't feel like an outsider. She was starting to realize that she could belong in both worlds, the one she had come from and the one she had entered with Jordan. When the time came for Jordan to speak, he took the stage, and Maya stood off to the side, watching him with admiration. He had an air of confidence about him, yet there was a humility in the way he spoke that drew people in. He spoke about the importance of giving back, about the need to help those who were less fortunate, and the impact that a community of people coming together could have. As he spoke, Maya felt a sense of pride. She was proud of Jordan, of what he had accomplished, and how deeply he cared about others. But more than that, she realized she was proud of herself too. She had come so far, and while the journey was still ongoing, she was no longer the same woman who had struggled in the past. As Jordan finished his speech, the crowd applauded, and he made his way back to Maya. He took her hand in his, squeezing it gently. "You did great tonight," he said softly. Maya smiled, feeling the weight of his words. "We did great," she replied, realizing that their success was shared. It wasn't just about Jordan's wealth or influence. It was about the life they were building together. It was about trust, love, and mutual support. The next few weeks felt like a whirlwind. As Maya continued to excel in her career, Sophia thrived in her schoolwork, and Jordan and Maya grew closer. Their connection had deepened in ways that neither had expected. Maya felt more confident than ever before, and the sense of purpose she had found in her life was something she hadn't even known she was missing. One evening, as they sat on the balcony of Jordan's penthouse, sipping wine and watching the sunset, Maya realized just how far she had come. She thought back to those dark days when she was alone, when she was struggling, and when she thought her life would never be more than just surviving. But now, here she was, on the verge of something beautiful, something real. Jordan looked at her, his gaze soft and full of love. "I'm so proud of you," he said, his voice low. Maya smiled, her heart swelling with emotion. "I'm proud of us," she said, her voice barely a whisper. In that moment, Maya realized that she had found something she never thought she would have, a life filled with love, security, and the possibility of a bright future. Together, Jordan and Maya had created a life that was more than just about success or wealth. It was about building a family, sharing dreams, and facing the future hand in hand. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Maya leaned against Jordan, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it together. And for the first time in her life, she felt truly at home. As Maya and Jordan continued to grow closer, they found themselves navigating new and uncharted waters. The connection between them had only deepened, and Maya felt her world expanding in ways she hadn't thought possible. However, despite the newfound comfort in their relationship, Maya couldn't help but feel a lingering sense of uncertainty. She had never expected to find someone like Jordan, someone who made her feel seen, loved, and supported. Yet, with all that had changed in her life, she wondered if it was too good to be true. Could she really build a future with someone from such a different world? Sophia, too, was adjusting to this new dynamic. The young girl had come to care for Jordan, but Maya still sometimes found herself questioning if it was happening too fast. Jordan had been wonderful with her daughter, patient and understanding, but Maya worried about the impact all of this would have on Sophia in the long run. Her concerns were valid, but each day spent with Jordan made Maya feel more certain that they could find a way to make it all work. The love between them was undeniable, and the life they were building together felt like the start of something beautiful. One night, as they sat in the warmth of Jordan's penthouse, Maya turned to him, a question weighing heavily on her mind. "What does the future look like for us, Jordan?" she asked softly. Jordan turned to her, a serious expression on his face. "What do you mean?" he asked, his tone gentle but curious. Maya took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. I want to know. We've come so far, and I want to understand what this is. What we are." Jordan took her hand in his fingers tracing over her skin in a slow, soothing motion. "I know what you mean," he said. "I've thought about it a lot. Maya, I see a future with you. A real future. I want to be with you, and I want us to build something that lasts." His words filled Maya with warmth, but also with a touch of uncertainty. She wasn't used to feeling like this. For so long, she had kept her heart guarded, afraid to let anyone in, but now, with Jordan, it was different. She could see a life with him, a future where they were a family, where Sophia had a loving father figure, and where they could support each other through whatever came next. But still, a part of her hesitated. "What about everything else?" she asked, her voice quiet. "What about the world we're in? The people, the expectations? I'm not sure I can keep up with it all." Jordan smiled softly, his eyes full of understanding. "You don't have to keep up with anything," he said, his voice steady. "This isn't about what we're expected to do. It's about what we want. It's about you, me, and Sophia. We'll make our own path. No one else's expectations matter." The reassurance in his voice made Maya feel a sense of calm she hadn't realized she needed. With Jordan, she wasn't just stepping into a life of wealth and privilege. She was stepping into a partnership, a relationship built on mutual respect and love. "I'm ready," she said softly, her heart swelling with emotion. "I don't know what the future holds, but I know I want to face it with you." Jordan leaned in, brushing a gentle kiss against her forehead. "And I'm ready too," he said, his voice full of warmth. "We'll do this together." As the weeks passed, Maya found herself embracing her new life more and more. Her work at Carter Enterprises continued to flourish, and her relationship with Jordan grew stronger every day. The doubts and insecurities that had once held her back were slowly fading away, replaced by a quiet confidence that had been building inside her all along. She wasn't just Maya, the woman trying to make a living for herself and her daughter. She was Maya, the woman who had found love, who had found a partner in Jordan, and who had finally allowed herself to believe in a future she had once thought impossible. One evening, Jordan surprised her with a small celebration at their apartment. He had arranged for dinner, and when Maya walked in, she saw the table set with candles, flowers, and soft music playing in the background. Sophia was tucked away in her room, giving them space to enjoy the evening. "What's all this for?" Maya asked, her eyes wide in surprise. Jordan smiled, walking over to her. "I just wanted to remind you how far we've come," he said. "You've worked so hard, Maya. You fought for so much. And now, I want us to celebrate what we're building together." The words hit her deeper than she had expected. It was one thing to hear it from him, but to see it in his eyes, his quiet pride in their journey together, made her feel like they truly had something special. They sat down for dinner, sharing laughter, stories, and dreams about the future. For the first time in a long time, Maya felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. She didn't have to choose between her past and her present anymore. Jordan, Sophia, and the life they were building together were all part of her future, a future filled with love, hope, and the possibility of something truly beautiful. As they finished their meal, Jordan took Maya's hand and gave her a look of deep affection. "Whatever happens next, Maya, we'll face it together. We're stronger than we've ever been." Maya smiled, her heart full of gratitude and love. "Together," she repeated softly, the words carrying all the weight of what they had built and all the hope for what was to come. As the months passed, Maya and Jordan settled into a routine that felt right. They had weathered the challenges of blending their lives together, and with each passing day, the bond between them only grew stronger. Maya had found a new sense of purpose, not just in her work at Carter Enterprises, but in her personal life as well. She was no longer the woman who had to fight alone. She had Jordan, and together they were creating something beautiful. Sophia had continued to thrive as well. The little girl had blossomed under the care of both Maya and Jordan, and though there were still moments of uncertainty, Maya could see the positive impact their growing family was having on her. It wasn't just about the wealth or the success that Jordan had brought into their lives. It was about love, trust, and the quiet support they gave one another. One afternoon, as Maya and Jordan sat on the balcony of their apartment, watching the city below, Maya couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come. The woman she was now, the woman who had found a loving partner, a family, and a future, was someone she had once thought she could only dream of being. But here she was, living that dream. "I've been thinking a lot," Maya said, her voice soft. Jordan turned to her, a gentle smile on his face. "About what?" he asked, his tone warm and curious. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the words she was about to say. "About how much has changed. About how much I've changed." Jordan reached for her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers. "You've changed for the better," he said, his voice full of sincerity. "I've watched you grow in ways I never thought possible, Maya. You're stronger, more confident, and you've become someone who inspires me every day." Maya smiled, a warmth spreading through her chest at his words. "I couldn't have done it without you," she replied, her voice thick with emotion. "You've shown me that I don't have to do it all alone. I've always been so independent, so focused on just surviving. But with you, I'm learning that it's okay to let go, to let someone else in." Jordan squeezed her hand gently. "That's what we're here for," he said. "We're here for each other, through the good times and the tough ones. You don't have to carry everything on your shoulders. I'm right here always." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the city around them bustling with life, but inside their little bubble, everything felt calm, peaceful. Maya realized that she had never truly understood what it meant to feel at home with someone, to have a partner who not only supported her, but also believed in her in ways she hadn't believed in herself. It wasn't about the grand gestures or the lavish gifts. It was about the little moments, the quiet talks, the shared dreams, the simple acts of love and kindness. As they sat there, watching the sunset, Maya felt a sense of completeness she had never experienced before. She had built a life that was her own, one that she was proud of, with a family who cared for her and a partner who loved her unconditionally. "I want to keep building this," Maya said, her voice firm with resolve. "I want to keep building our future together." Jordan smiled, his eyes lighting up. "We will," he said, his voice full of certainty. "We'll build it, step by step, day by day." Maya looked out at the horizon, feeling the weight of her past slip away, replaced by the hope of what was to come. She had come so far, from the woman who was once lost and uncertain, to the woman who now knew what it meant to be loved and to love in return. She wasn't alone anymore, and for the first time in her life, that was enough. Jordan leaned in, brushing a soft kiss against her cheek. "No matter what happens, Maya, we've got this. We're in this together." Maya turned to him, her heart full. "Together," she whispered, the word carrying the promise of a future they would face hand in hand. As they sat there, the world around them seemed to fade away. The challenges, the fears, the doubts, they no longer mattered. They had found each other, and together, they would face whatever came next. And for Maya, that was all she needed. A life filled with love, trust, and the certainty that, with Jordan by her side, anything was possible. The future was wide open, and she was ready to embrace it with everything she had.